What's going on, everybody? It is Hunter here, and I'm here with Dusty for the next episode, the second episode of the Next Step podcast. Dusty, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, Mr. Grindle. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
That's good.
Eating some delicious meatballs
Nice.
from Rich down in the kitchen at Elevate.
They smell fantastic.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, and I can't wait to finish them after this podcast. Hopefully they don't go cold, but what are we here to talk about today, Dusty, for our second episode?
Today, we're kind of piggybacking off of episode 1. We talked, we gave some examples of a fork in the road that we both experienced, going through our journey, our personal and wellness development journey, so to speak, or, you can just call it life, right? But we talked about that fork in the road and what we did. But today we're going to talk a little bit more about, how to make the decision, and because it's not always easy, right? It's really tough to make that decision because you have numerous options in front of us, and there are different things that stand in the way, and that kind of keep us from actually making a decision and going forward. So that's kind of what today's topic is going to be structured around.
Perfect. Yeah. So when you're at that fork in the road, right, you're in this place where, maybe you're feeling a little complacent. You're feeling like you're ready for something new, or maybe you just don't know where to go, but something needs to change. I think that presents an opportunity to take that fork in the road. But often it can be scary to take that fork in the road, to choose the path, because if you choose wrong, then you might fail. And for whatever reason, we've got all the head trash. Everybody has different upbringings, different perspectives on things. But, failure, or how people look at you, if that happens, can stop us from ever even trying. And so what we find is sometimes it's just easier to not make a decision, and you just stay at the head of the path and not take that fork in the road. But what we sometimes forget is choosing to not make a decision out of fear is also making a decision.
What?
Yeah. So, Dusty, has there ever been a time for you when you were at a fork in the road and you needed to take the next step and you weren't making a decision? You were maybe procrastinating. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Honestly, I could use last week's example, that I talked about, choosing the, switching careers, selling the house type thing. It was a struggle for me because, getting rid of one thing was going to affect everything else in my life. And what if I wasn't making the right decision? What if, it was just me making a rash decision off of, the current feelings that I had. Was it really the right thing for me to do? The better thing for me to do, for the rest of my life. I mean, this was ultimately going to change everything forever. And that was, I sat on it for so long, and it was really difficult.
What were you afraid of, though, other than failure to yourself? What was going through your mind?
So letting others down, which, looking back on it sounds so weird, but just letting other people down in a way of I've failed, or, I'm shooting for this unrealistic dream of being the trainer, or, whatever. It just sounds like, I don't know, it just sounds like, you quit your job and moved away, or you quit your job and tried to, fulfill this dream of being a rock star, right? That's, everybody always says, don't quit your day job, but I'm all about that. If you got dreams, hell, go for it.
Who are you afraid of letting down?
I really don't know, because when I look back, it's I mean, I do have people that I truly care about in my life and that I love, but there's really nobody out there whose opinion, and this is going to sound terrible, matters more than my own happiness. Like, you know what I mean? Their portrayed image of me, it's not worth it. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, well, hell, why not? So it took me a while to get there, but I mean, I guess if I was to give an example, like personal relationships, romantic relationship, and then family. So like friends, girlfriend, family, like I don't want to let anybody down, because I want their image of me, or I did want their image of me to be a positive one. And I think that's what I was afraid of. And letting people down was always a struggle. So, growing up, just for my upbringing, we don't need to get into that today, but I'm sure eventually you're going to grill me on it at some point. But my story, it would definitely explain a whole lot on why I don't want to let people down. So it's just that fear and that thought of I've always let people down. At least that's what I've thought about myself, which is not true. But that was definitely the fear.
Okay. I got you. Yeah. So at the end of the day, if it's not letting somebody down, I can relate to that in different ways. One, for example, growing up, I played basketball, and throughout playing sports, you play in pee-wees, you play in middle school, you play in high school, and you play for different coaches, right? And you have different relationships with different coaches. And so I was always very close with my coaches, but like I looked up to them in a lot of ways, and I had a lot of respect. And at some point in my athletic career, I didn't feel like I had that relationship, which made me kind of fearful even more. Like I didn't know where I stood. And because of that, I would actually try harder to do better, and it lowered my performance. Yeah, I tried to go harder because I wanted them. I wanted their approval. And I think at the end of the day, if we look in the mirror and we want somebody else's approval to do something, we're really looking for our own approval. Like we're looking for it externally when really we just need to give it to ourselves, because nobody else, even if somebody else came and gave that to us, yes, that can temporarily boost us, but I think you need to truly believe in yourself and accept the consequences or the pros and cons of the situation. So like, when we talked about Dusty, your situation, like when you were making that step to like get done your job and sell your house, you can flip that on its head and you can say, well, yeah, if you stay in your job, right, you'll be successful. You'll make a bigger paycheck, right? You're going to continue to have this house, which is kind of in itself a symbol of success. But when you go to your job every day, you're going to be not happy, and you're not going to get a lot of great sleep. And when you're around the people that you love, you probably aren't going to bring your best self. That might be the bigger risk than, you know what? Instead of saying, what if you just do the thing that you want to do and take the jump, especially if you don't have like a lot of, it also depends on what part of life you're in, how much responsibilities you have, right? I think you were in a pretty good position at that time, right? Like you were single, I believe then.
When I quit?
Yeah. Or yeah.
Either. Yes, I think so. Yes.
And no kids.
No.
And so you're in a right position. It's a little harder, and I can't speak to it if you have a family, but what happens if you didn't do it? You'd still be doing the same thing. You'd still most likely be feeling that same way. Imagine living your life like you're living it now for the next 10 or 20 years. A lot of people do that. A lot of people settle and choose not to make a decision. And in fact, in doing that, making a decision to not chase your dream, to not find your greatest potential and live a fulfilling life and be happy. Now, I'm not saying that this way is the easiest path. It certainly isn't. It will challenge you. It's going to make you grow in different ways and make you think that you might be somebody else. You're not who you always thought you were, that you've got something else in you, or you don't have something else in you. But you don't know until you do it. And so you have to ask yourself this question. In 10 years, are you going to look back and be happier or less happy on the path you're going? If it's not happier, then you got to switch it, because you have control. You have more control. If you live in the United States of America, you can go broke in the United States of America and you're still the 1%. You're still in the 1% of lifestyle and how people live in this world. And we just don't have that perspective. Think of that. It really can't get that bad.
No, especially if you're driven, at least. I mean, if you pursue something and you fear failure, right? You're going to do everything you can to not fail. So, if you think about it, like, more than likely, you're not going to come out worse off. I mean, if you do, it's probably because you really didn't want it to begin with.
Yeah. Like, worst case, the thing that you do does not work out and you learn something, and that gets you closer to your next path, right? That brings you down to the next step. Maybe you acquire a skill, or you learn more about what you don't want or about what you do want. It's going to just move you closer. The only way that you lose this game is if you quit. And hey, there may be some point where you decide that, hey, I want to go back to the job. I'm stressing myself out, like I'm working all the time, like I'm chasing this goal. I don't know how much longer I want to do this. And I have some other things that are very important to me. I like having my evenings off, or I like having my weekends off, or whatever it is. Not that you have to always sacrifice those, but and that's okay too. But that will always be there for you.
And one thing I like to say is regret is way worse than failure. Like if you go through life and you choose not to do something, more than likely you're going to regret it, and that is going to be it's going to be way worse of a feeling than not even trying. So if you can live your life, if you're at this fork, like, make that your deciding factor. Can I live with myself? Can I live with the regret of not trying this more so than the regret of possibly failing? But then again, you have to look at it like this. Failure is the catalyst to growth, right? Like, you can't grow without failing. There's no way you're going to go through life, continually getting better at something, continually growing, whether it be physically growing, a skill set or a mindset. You're not going to get any better if you're always perfect. So stop striving to be perfect and just strive on, look towards getting better, do something, put the reps in, so to speak, yeah.
Absolutely. And so fear and lack of wanting to make a decision can keep you from going down the next step. Another thing that keeps people from taking the next step is needing the perfect plan. What am I going to do now? Right? And this is why Dusty and I get along so well. We are nice opposites. I'm an idiot, and I have very low or a very high risk / fear tolerance, and I can kind of, do things off the fly. And I feel fine doing it. I feel confident. In fact, I'd probably feel less like anxiety if we do things off the fly. Dusty, on the other hand, oh man, he is an organized fella, and he makes a plan, and he also follows through with the plan. I'm pretty good at starting the plan, and I can get people motivated and help them, get over their own head trash. But then like a month in, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, whoa, squirrel. That's is that the right thing?
Yes,
that's correct.
Yep. So
sometimes finding the right person, talking to somebody or having somebody surrounded you who is maybe a little fearless. If you're thinking about you have to have the perfect plan, or just listening to this podcast, you need to know that you don't need a perfect plan. Let me tell you why. Well, in fitness and health and fitness, we'll sit down with people. They come in, they say, I want to lose weight, or I want to feel better, or have more energy. And we almost never tell them the perfect plan. And one, I don't know if that exists, but two, hey, if you wanted to maximize your, Dusty's client here, Dusty, if you want to maximize your results, you're telling me, you want to do this, you want to lose weight, but you have all these goals. This is what I'd recommend. I'd recommend you work out twice a day, and you're going to eat 1,421 calories, and you're going to have 121 grams of protein a day, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, maybe that's the perfect plan. The perfect plan is probably pretty specific, but the perfect plan is never the perfect plan because that's not how real life works. Okay? All you need to do is find one thing that's going to get you started. And so in fitness, if your next path is you want to work on your fitness, you need to tie your shoes. You need to put your sneakers on and just walk around the house.
I would advise putting pants on first.
I'm not big on the pants, but Dusty also knows me very well in that way because we did live together. Yeah. Why are you blushing?
I've seen some things.
Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna take a bite of this meatball.
Yeah. So let's see. What were you talking about?
Yeah. So it's the perfect plan, and so you don't need it. So it's taking that first step. And look, once you take that first step, the next thing will present itself. Okay. And you need to have faith in that. And you need to have confidence that when that thing appears, that you can do it. You need to, it sounds crazy, and I've done this in the past. Whether you look in a physical mirror or you look at you close your eyes and you talk to yourself, you need to tell yourself, look, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I will do it when I figure it out. When the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to act on it. I might not do a great job at it, but if I don't do a great job on it, I will do it again, and I'll do a little bit better. And if you have that mindset, then you can accomplish anything in this world. And you know what? It might take you way longer than Joe Schmo or Susie Schmoozy down the road, but that doesn't matter. I remember it was 4th grade, right? And we had this typing class, and there was this game called Type to Learn. And all the 5th graders were partnered up with the 4th graders. Again, I was a 4th grader, and they were showing us how to do Type to Learn. And out of all my peers, I was the slowest one. I couldn't get past level 2, and I was like, "What?" But I really wanted to become a good typer. So guess what? I was not the fastest. I was not the fastest typer from the beginning, but I bought Type to Learn on my Windows 97 computer, or my parents did for me. And I came back as a 5th grader next year. We were doing Type to Learn, and guess what? I got to the highest level because I put in more time, and I actually failed more. Now, hey, if Joe Schmo beside me, or Timmy Schmimmy beside me, had put in the same time, he might have been better than me. But what you don't have control over that. You have control over you. You have control over the time that you put in, the actions that you put in. When you get pushed down, you get back up. You have control over that. It's just all in your head. And you have to decide what's most important to you. And if it's that important to you, then you will get back up and you'll do it. But you got to start with faith. You got to start with believing that when the opportunity presents itself and when that path opens up, that you will take action, and it's okay to not do good the first time. It's okay to not do good the 10th time, as long as you just get a little bit better and you keep doing it. This is a long game, and you can win the long game that way.
That was a great story. I didn't know you wanted to be the world's greatest typer.
Mm-hmm.
And you blew away the competition. I'm proud of you.
Type to Learn was a fun game.
Type to Learn. I never heard of it. Never heard of it.
It's because you're a crappy typer, Dusty.
I am actually.
Are you actually? Oh, no.
I'm not the greatest.
I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, following up to that, I'm trying to think. I read a really, really good book. I think it was Ryan Holiday, and it was called The Obstacle is the Way. And it's just how to overcome these things, these obstacles. And most of the time, you're better off just facing it and going through it rather than trying to figure out a way to go around it. So if you fear something, don't try to find a way around it. Just go through that fear.
That's so freaking true. Like, in every way. And it's so hard to do it the first few times.
100%.
But like once you do it a couple times, you start to see the pattern. And then, so you do it and you're like, whoa, like what? That was really great. Like you see yourself grow and you feel yourself grow as a person and you get really excited. You get an adrenaline rush from that progress. But then like there's something really scary that comes up, like even way bigger, like 3 times bigger than those last things. And then you decide not to do it. You decide to go around it. And then you see all the negative things from it and you're like, whoa, I don't want to do that again. That was way too painful. And then you go back and then you get like that positive reinforcement because you follow the obstacle. And then over time, it's a skill. It's a muscle.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, because the more I've experienced these things and gone through these, just adversity, through many different things and avenues in life, I don't necessarily fear failure now. I don't seek it out. And that's another thing. I always tell people, don't necessarily seek failure out, but put yourself in a position to fail at something, and you will be better than you were before.
If you just set a goal that seems pretty cool, that's like exceptional. Like you will inherently find some obstacles along the way that will challenge you in that way, And I think you want to not go into failure for sure. Like you don't want to like find any more of it, but it will find you.
Oh, yeah. If you're going through life and you don't fail at something, I hate to say it, but you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So like an example of this, right? This is a fork in the road for me. The obstacle is the way. Remember, I like that quote, Dusty. So one piece for me in hybrid fitness and hybrid systems as a whole has been learning to communicate well. I've always had a big fear of making people feel bad or upset, not wanting to hurt their feelings, or at least thinking that, what I might say might hurt their feelings. And I don't know what this comes from. It might come from how I take feedback personally and thinking that everybody thinks the same way that I do, which is not necessarily the right way of thinking. But what I quickly learned was if I avoided communication and having tough conversations, saying, hey, this can't happen. I might not word it that way, but saying like, setting standards. If something is up, like looking at giving somebody, instead of criticizing them, I'm just coaching them. I'm helping them. Okay. But I always thought I'd be criticizing them. I make them feel bad. And because of that, what would happen is I would bite my tongue. And then all of those feelings would build up and build up and build up. And I would get anxious. And then I would build resentment towards the person. In the meanwhile, and you know what, I'm probably telling my girlfriend, and I'm probably telling like my dad all this stuff. But the one person I'm not telling is the person who needs to hear it. And they really care. They want to be here. They want to do their best, or at least that's the belief I got to have. And so it's my job to communicate. But because I ran away from it, I've had to fire people. I've had people leave. And that's freaking painful. And so finally, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but that has allowed me to learn how to communicate effectively, because I don't want the pain. I just said, all right, now I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to go head on. And after I did this for the first time, I can't tell you how much weight I lost. I think I lost 50 pounds, Dusty. I think I hit my head on the rim when I was playing basketball. Yeah. It was unbelievable. And what that did was it opened up a new path. It helped take our business to the next level in the long run.
What did it do for your relationships with those people?
It grew them.
Yeah. Positively?
Positively. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I think like in this specific scenario, how you say it is also important.
It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Right, hon?
Yeah. And so I believe how I said it came across as like, look, we're on the same team. Like, we have the same goals. Like, these are a few things I'm seeing. Like, you know, how can we work on these together so that we can get to our goals, you know? And so as long as the person feels like you're on the same team and you're not just being a total, you know, douche, then I think you're good. And so what it did for those relationships was it grew them. It created a tighter bond and even more camaraderie, and like, wow, we're in this together. It allowed other people to feel more invested in what we're building, which took the team, it gave them confidence to do even more. And so, yeah, I mean, we could go, there's so much that we could go in on that, but that's probably, you know, too specific for this episode. But
so it positively helped. I don't want to go away from it quite yet. It positively helped the personal relationships, right, between you and those people.
Yeah. And
professionally, though, as well, do you feel as if, I mean, obviously you benefited from it because you saw more success, but do you think it helped them as well? And then, like, how did it affect the business? Not necessarily specifically, but positively, negatively. I mean, was it a drastic change?
Well, I think so. Because if you have somebody on your team or in any part of life, or you have a partner, right, in your relationship, or a friend, you know, nobody wants to do anything wrong, and everybody wants to do their best. And sometimes people don't know that. And so if you can communicate with them in a way that, hey, we're on the same team, and I've been here before, like, let me help you, I think they'll appreciate that. I think it also shows that, I mean, in this case, as a leader, that I care about you, right? Because if I don't say anything, like, for a long time, like, I don't know if that's normal. So I think it showed investment, and I think when you feel cared about and you feel important, I mean, that changes how you think. That turns you in your head, okay, I am an important person. And what do important people normally have? They normally have responsibilities, and they normally do everything they can to do their best job. So it actually can change the identity of the people around you and your team and your relationships. But anyways, so you got to lean into them obstacles. You got to go head on.
Yeah, that's a great example. I know we kind of went down the rabbit hole there and went on a tangent, but I think that was a really good example, because that was one thing I know personally, seeing from the outside. Like, I watched you go through it, right? And I knew it was hard for you, and it was just that fear of, like, taking that step and communicating, trying to be a better communicator. And when you did it, like, look at all the doors that opened up because of that.
Now I love doing it.
It's a little too much now.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's fun. And yeah, that's the thing. And like once you overcome something like that, often it becomes fun after.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if there's ever anything that you've struggled with and then like you really kick ass at it and you're like, wow, I really enjoy this now. Because you remember what it was like and it was so hard and now it just comes to you naturally. But that's part of that journey. So we talked about not making a decision at all, is actually making a decision. We talked about just taking an action, taking that first step, and we talked about you don't need that perfect plan.
Yeah.
And then finally, don't be afraid to take that adversity or that fear or that obstacle.
Take the chance.
Yeah, take it head on. Dive into it. Kick it in its nose.
Show it who's boss.
Yeah. Dusty, do you have anything to add?
Well, the only thing I really just want to reiterate is it's okay to fail, and you should fail because, again, it breeds growth, and a lot of it. It's scary at first, but like we've talked about, the more you do it, the easier it gets, and the more doors and opportunities that it opens up. So, like I said before, you don't need to necessarily seek failure out, but put yourself in a position to fail at something. Remember that.
Amen. All right, this is it for episode 2 of The Next Step. Thank you so much for your time. We know it's very valuable to you. We hope you got some value out of it. We'll see you in the next episode.
Later.